Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. Stop telling people your problems. Nobody really cares. You think they do, but they don't. Most people, they're too busy with their own mess. You walk around unloading your burdens, thinking somebody gonna come rescue you? Nah, life don't work like that. People are often too consumed with their own lives to truly care about your problems. This isn't meant to sound cold, it's just a fact of life. Every single person is walking around carrying a weight you can't see. They've got bills, heartbreaks, insecurities, responsibilities, and silent battles that they don't talk about either. When you come to them with your issues, even if they nod and pretend to listen, most of them are only half present because their own mind is somewhere else. They might offer a polite, "Oh, that's tough," or "I'm here if you need anything," but as soon as the conversation ends, they go right back to focusing on their own situation. It's not because people are evil or selfish. It's because the world demands so much from each of us that there's barely space to absorb anyone else's pain. Emotional bandwidth is limited. Everyone's trying to survive. That's the reality. Now, when you pour your problems out to someone, hoping for deep understanding or a solution, it often falls flat. You might think you're getting support, but most of the time what you're really getting is a brief moment of forced sympathy followed by forgetfulness. People aren't writing down your issues to come back and check on you later. They're not losing sleep over your struggles. They go home and think about their own. So instead of expecting someone else to carry your load or walk you through the fire, you've got to understand that most people aren't built to be your emotional crutch. They've got their own fires to put out. This is why so many people feel disappointed and let down when they open up to others. They expect empathy, but what they get is indifference disguised as concern. If you're always telling people your problem, eventually you become that person they avoid. They don't want to hear it. They won't say it to your face, but they'll label you as negative, draining, or weak. And that label sticks. Doesn't matter how good your heart is or how real your pain is. If you're constantly showing up with problems and never with solutions or resilience, people start to pull away. They don't want to be your therapist. They want light energy, inspiration, something that adds to their life, not subtracts from it. That's the harsh truth no one wants to talk about. You have to learn to be your own safe space. You have to learn to comfort yourself, build inner strength, and figure things out without expecting someone else to hold your hand through it all. This isn't about isolation. It's about self-reliance. The more you depend on people emotionally, the more you get disappointed. The more you expect someone to fix your pain, the longer you delay your healing. The strongest people you see, the ones who walk with calm and carry themselves with power. They've been through hell too, but they handled it silently. They cried alone, prayed alone, healed alone, and came back stronger because of it. They didn't go around broadcasting their problems, hoping someone would care enough to save them. They saved themselves because they knew no one else would. And once you realize that the world keeps turning, no matter how bad your day is, you stop looking for pity, you stop explaining yourself, you start moving forward with grit, knowing that the only person who can change your life is you. People will notice you when you win, not when you whine. So while everyone else is distracted with their own chaos, you have to become the one person in your life who shows up fully. You have to become the calm in your own storm. That's the beginning of true power. Venting to the wrong people can be dangerous. They might use your pain against you. When you share your problems with someone, you're handing them a part of your heart, your struggle, and your vulnerability. That might feel safe in the moment, especially if the person acts like they care, but you never truly know someone's intentions until pressure is applied. The truth is, Not everyone you talk to has your best interests at heart. Some people pretend to listen just to gather information, not to help you. They smile while you speak, but on the inside, they're already storing your weakness as a weapon. Maybe not for now, but later, when they're angry, insecure, jealous, or just bored, they might pull out what you shared in confidence and use it to tear you down. The people who thrive off gossip. And when you tell them about your struggles, they don't hear your pain. They hear a story to tell someone else. It's not safe to bleed around people who are looking for something to feed on. The world can be cruel that way. You might think you confide in a friend, but that friend might be someone who secretly enjoys seeing you struggle because it makes them feel strong. Your vulnerability can become entertainment for others, a topic in someone else's conversation, a twisted tale that doesn't even sound like the truth anymore once it passes through the mouths of a few people. That betrayal stings, especially when it comes from someone you trusted, someone who smiled at you while you were breaking inside. And beyond just gossip, there are people who will manipulate your pain for their own advantage. They'll use what you told them to control you, to make you doubt yourself, to make you feel small when they want to feel powerful. They'll remind you of your lowest moments when you're trying to stand tall. They'll say things like, remember when you couldn't even do this? Or you've always been bad at that. And suddenly your confidence cracks. Not because they're right, but because you gave them the tools to hit you where it hurts most. That's the risk you take when you vent to the wrong people. You're handing over emotional ammo, hoping for support, but possibly fueling future attacks. You've got to learn to pause before you open up. You've got to ask yourself if the person you're talking to has earned the right to hold your truth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people are only meant to stand on the surface of your life. They don't have the character to handle what's real. They'll nod and act like they're listening, but their motives are anything but pure. That's why silence is a form of protection. That's why privacy is power. You keep your pain sacred, guarded, and shared only with those who have consistently proven they can be trusted. And even then, you keep something for yourself because there are parts of your healing that are too personal, too sacred to be understood by anyone else. The world loves a story, but not always for the right reasons. You might think telling someone what you're going through is helping you process it, but if they're not mature enough, wise enough, or loving enough to hold that space for you, then you're just setting yourself up for more pain. What starts as a moment of release can turn into months of regret. That's why emotional discipline is so important. It's not about shutting people out. It's about being wise with your voice, with your truth, and with your wounds. Because once you say something, you can't take it back. And once it's out there, it can travel in ways you never imagined. Strength comes from handling your issues privately and working through them with action. When life hits hard and everything around you feels unstable, your first instinct might be to cry out, to explain, to defend yourself, to seek comfort from someone else. For true power lies in what you do when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, no audience, and no reassurance. That's when your character is forged. It's easy to talk about your problems, to express frustration, to explain how unfair life has been. But that talk won't change anything. The struggle remains. What changes the situation is what you choose to do in response to it. Talking is easy, action is hard. Most people get stuck in the loop of complaining, explaining, and waiting. But the ones who rise, the ones who make it out, are the ones who channel that pain into motion. Handling your issues privately doesn't mean you deny your emotions or suppress what you feel. It means you learn to process those emotions without performing them for the world. It means you sit with your pain in silence and allow yourself to feel it fully without letting it take over. There is dignity in carrying your burdens with grace. Not because you want to appear strong, but because you understand that not everyone is equipped to help you, and not every situation requires an explanation. The world doesn't need to know the details of your struggle. All it needs to see is the result of your perseverance. When you keep your process private, you protect your energy, you protect your peace, you give yourself the space to heal without judgment, without interference, and without pressure. Working through your issues with action means waking up every day and doing the hard things, even when you don't feel like it. It means showing up for yourself consistently, even when no one else shows up for you. It means turning your setbacks into fuel, using them as a reason to push harder, not to quit. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone when you respond with action instead of excuses. Life doesn't care how much you're hurting. It rewards those who keep moving. Progress is the proof that you're bigger than your pain. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be steady. Quiet strength is the most powerful kind because it doesn't need validation. It grows in the dark and it blossoms in silence. There's something sacred about being your own hero, about fighting your battles in the shadows and emerging stronger without needing to tell the world how much you endured. People might not see the nights you cry, the mornings you struggled to get out of bed, the times you almost gave up, but they'll see the results. They'll see the growth. They'll see the transformation. And that's all that matters. Your journey doesn't need to be broadcast. Your comeback doesn't need to be explained. Let your progress speak for itself. Let your life reflect your resilience. There's power in being low-key, in rebuilding yourself quietly, in choosing self-respect over sympathy. Too often people waste time looking for someone to save them, someone to fix everything, someone to walk them through the fire, but you've got to learn how to walk through it yourself. That's where confidence is born. That's where self-worth is developed. Nobody can give that to you. You earn it. You earn it by doing the work, by taking control of your own healing, by refusing to let pain define you. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, effort over excuse, faith over fear, you get stronger. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. You build endurance, you develop grit, and slowly, without realizing it, you become the kind of person who doesn't break easily anymore. The world respects results, not excuses or complaints. In the end, people don't really care what you went through. They care about what you overcame. They don't listen to stories of why it didn't work out. They pay attention when you make it work despite everything. That's the difference between sympathy and respect. You can get sympathy for a while when you talk about your pain, but it fades. Respect lasts, and it comes from what you produce, not what you suffer. You may have every reason to be tired, every right to be frustrated, every justification for your delay, but none of that changes the outcome. All that matters in the world's eyes is whether you delivered. The moment you stop producing, the moment you stop growing, the world keeps moving. Nobody hits pause for your problems. Nobody rewinds the clock so you can catch up. Time doesn't wait, and neither do opportunities. People may nod when you share your problems. They might say they understand, but the truth is they're watching to see what you do next. They want to see whether you'll keep going or whether you'll fold under pressure. They want to see if you're the kind of person who makes excuses or the kind who finds solutions. The moment you show up with results, everything changes. Doors open. Conversations shift. You go from being pitied to being respected because action has power and success silences doubt. That's why it's important not to waste time explaining your pain. Channel that energy into building something that speaks louder than your story. Build something that can't be ignored. Let your life become the proof that you didn't give up. That's how you gain respect. Not by begging for it, not by complaining for it, but by earning it. Excuses may feel good in the moment. They protect your ego. They give you a reason to justify failure, but they don't move you forward. They don't change your situation. They don't help you grow. Every time you make an excuse, you trade your power for comfort. You give away control of your outcome. And once you make one excuse, it gets easier to make the next one. Eventually, excuses become a habit, and habits become your identity. You become the person who always has a reason but never has a result. And that person gets left behind. That person watches others succeed and feels bitter. That person blames the world instead of doing the work. But you're not that person. You don't want to be remembered for what held you back. You want to be remembered for what you pushed through. The truth is, every person who's ever achieved something meaningful had 100 reasons to quit. They had setbacks, heartbreaks, betrayals, losses, fears, just like you. But they didn't let those reasons win. They didn't allow their pain to become their story. They chose to keep showing up. They chose discipline over doubt, effort over emotion, and persistence over pity. And that choice, made consistently, is what separated them from the rest. It's never been about talent alone. It's about hunger. It's about the decision to keep moving even when everything in you wants to stop. It's about choosing to become undeniable. You don't need to explain your journey to people who won't understand it. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them make their assumptions. Your focus should be on the result. Because once they see the results, they'll have no choice but to respect the process. You don't have to argue with people who doubted you. You don't have to convince them that your pain was real. Just show them what you built from it. Show them what you turned it into. That's louder than anything you could ever say. That's the real message. Silence and discipline in hardship earn more power than public sympathy. In a world that constantly urges people to share everything, to post every emotion, to vent every pain, it takes real strength to be quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you've learned that growth happens in silence. There's a different kind of strength in not announcing your battles, in not broadcasting your struggle. When life hits hard, the natural instinct is to cry out, to let the world know how unfair things are, to hope someone will hear and come rushing in with help. But most of the time, no one is coming. People might offer words, they might give temporary attention, but they're not staying long. They have their own lives to manage. The truth is, sympathy may comfort your feelings, but it doesn't change your reality. What does change things is discipline. Doing what needs to be done, even when your heart is heavy and your path is unclear. When you choose silence over noise, you shift the focus inward. You begin to build resilience, one decision at a time. You stop depending on validation from the outside, and instead you become your own compass. That doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means you process them without letting them dictate your behavior. While others are looking for someone to blame or waiting for someone to rescue them, you're taking quiet steps forward. And those steps, no matter how small, create momentum. They give you strength that can't be faked, confidence that doesn't come from applause, but from knowing you showed up for yourself. Discipline is the bridge between pain and power. It's the act of doing the right thing, especially when it's the hardest thing. When you're hurting, the easy path is to shut down, to give up, to distract yourself with comfort. But discipline demands the opposite. It demands that you keep moving, that you hold yourself accountable, that you refuse to become a victim of your own pain. And when you pair that discipline with silence, you become unstoppable. Because now, you're not wasting energy explaining yourself to people who don't understand. You're not giving away your power trying to be heard. You're too busy building, too busy healing, too busy becoming. People admire those who can stay grounded in the middle of chaos. They may not say it,